Hello and welcome to another edition of Hot Seat right here on Ogun State Television. I am Moses or Jewumi. Well, on the show today, I will be talking about leadership as service and personal journey that shapes national responsibility. Yes, my guest is a man whose path has taken him from the private sector into the public sector and whose work continues to shape Nigerians' digital future. Can you connect the dots already? He's the Minister of Communications, Innovation and Digital Economy, Dr. Bosun Tijani. Welcome to the show, Minister.
Thank you so much, Moses. Good to be here.
Yeah, well, thanks for coming. But very shortly, let's get to see his profile. And when we come back, of course, the interview segment begins. Stay with us. And that was the profile of my guest today, the Honorable Minister of Communications, Innovations and Digital Economy, Dr. Bosun Tijani. You're welcome to the program once again.
Thank you. Thank you. Good to be here.
Yeah, from your profile, bachelor's degree in economics from the University of Jos, a master's degree in information systems and management from Warwick University, and a doctorate degree in innovation and economic development from the University of Leicester. And I could say that you worked with a handful number of IT companies, including HP, before rising to become the minister. So let's start. Tell us about your early years and what aspects of your upbringing has shaped your values and ambitions. So we can start on that note.
It's a good question, Moses, and I think I'm tempted to almost start with OGTV itself. It's it's really exciting to be here. I think growing up, this is a station that shaped a lot of our thinking. Most of us, not just in the state, I think OGTV was quite well recognized across the southwestern region of the country. I think a lot of the great journalists started there. So I think it's appropriate to appreciate each one of you guys for the work you do. Those who have been part of building this brand as well, it's important to appreciate them. And also wish you guys well, that this station will continue to grow from strength to strength. I was born in Agege, Lagos, to a father who is from Ogun State and a mother from Ogun State. My mom was from, she's late now, she was from Ota, to be specific, Adodo Ota. My father is both from Ilaro and Abeokuta, Itoko in Abeokuta. And they both lived here in Abeokuta. But early days, my dad was amongst those who started Agege bread, the popular Agege bread in Lagos. And that's where I was given birth to. But when I finished my primary school education, I moved to Abeokuta. Of course, I did my secondary school education at Anglican High School in Quarry Road. We have our home in Adigbe. The home is still there. So I remember vividly, I used to walk from Adigbe to Quarry Road every day and back. And I think those days probably shaped who I am today. The friends I had in school back in the days, our dreams and aspirations. Abeokuta was just that subtle, small city for us then, where dreams were being shaped. I remember vividly, I used to aspire to go learn swimming at the then, I think it was called Ogun State Hotel, which became Gateway Hotel at some point. I used to go to Ijeja Stadium. I tried enrolling myself in badminton. But of course, I couldn't get into all those things. So we had those days where we believed that a lot was possible. But I think for me, my background was quite supportive in shaping who I eventually become. Because my dad, as a baker, taught us to be builder. I remember back in the days, every weekend at home, we were always building something. It was always about creating something that can lead to value. And that, I think, stayed with me. So I've always been interested in how I could build things that can be useful for society. When you look at the opportunity I had to, when I finished here, my secondary school, I think I failed my first WAEC. I had to go do another one at a school in Ode, which I eventually passed. Then I moved to Jos to do my first degree. That was where I started truly believing that I was going to create something for society. I was a president of a student exchange organization then that brought a lot of foreign students into Nigeria for internship, but also sent a lot of Nigerian young people abroad for internship. And I myself had the opportunity to work for Hewlett-Packard in Switzerland. From that experience, I worked for the United Nations. From where I went to the UK, where I lived for an extended period of time. I studied at Warwick Business School. I did my PhD. But the most significant part was then I then came back to Nigeria to start a company that is now very well known in the technology ecosystem that is called Co-Creational, which is the company that actually started what you may call the startup revolution from Yaba in Lagos. It was one of those companies, but it was the first technology innovation hub in the country.
It was a startup then.
Absolutely. It was a startup and it became extremely successful. So a lot of technology startups came out of it. A lot of young people came in there. We gave them the opportunity to build their own businesses. Quite a number of them are well known today and they're worth billions. Yeah, Aboyeji, I think is a good example. Yeah, it's built, it started Andela from there. Andela is now known as a unicorn. It's gone ahead to then create Flutterwave. So these are companies
and
that
today we have so many startups.
We do have so many of them. But for me, I think that journey, but also getting the opportunity to build and actually building and seeing the impact in society is what gave me the belief that I've got to contribute to bigger, better way of building.
But for the fact that, yes, your bachelor's degree in economics, master degree in, at what point did you see yourself in this light? Did you ever imagine that one day you become the number one person when we talk about communications, innovation, digital economy in Nigeria? Did you see that?
I think in terms of aspiration, yes. The answer is yes. But did I know how I was going to get there? No. It wasn't clear. So my focus was largely on what I had on my hand, that I had to do it well, and I had to do it not just for myself, but for society. So when I was running CC Hub, as many people who pass through CC Hub can attest, for me, it was always about nation building. It was always about the belief that technology could help us change society. And I remember I used to ask myself then, what would you do if you were the minister? So I wasn't taking, a lot of my decisions were not taken as a businessman. So when people say you're from the private sector, I say, yeah, I'm from the private sector, but my own private sector is different. It's almost like the think tank, the civil society ecosystem where we want to see a better society. So I was always asking myself that question, what will you do? For instance, CC of Iran became the most affordable. We were charging only 30,000 naira. To a large extent, people like in Aboyeji, we get them free membership. We will go raise money from other places to ensure that young people can actually benefit from using the space. So if you go all over Africa, there's no such platform that is that affordable. In fact, today it is now the biggest in Africa because we've extended it now. We bought a company that does the same thing that was struggling in Kenya. So we've turned it into the first one in Africa. We acquired that about five years ago. It's now the biggest on the continent. We went to Namibia. The German government supported them to set up something similar to CCF. They couldn't sustain it. We bought that as well, which we're now, we took over their location. We registered a new business there, which we're now running. We've been running successfully for years. We've done the same in Rwanda. Nigeria, CCF has a tech hub in Rwanda, and recently we've set up in Togo. And for me, I think when people ask me about why CCF has been that successful, I think it's been largely because the focus was on the people. African young people are full of talent, but what we lack is the platform to allow young people to express their creativity. So yes, I dreamt of becoming a minister, but I didn't know how I was going to get there.
Okay. I mean, you were talking about how you set up, in other African countries. Let's look at it from the angle of digital divide.
Yes.
When can we bridge that? If you look at the Europe, for example, North America, for example, are we doing enough to bridge this digital divide?
I think Nigeria has been extremely successful, but we're a large country. We've been extremely successful in trying to close the gap. If you think more thoroughly, I think when I was finishing university I think it was 2001, 2002, when GSM was just coming out. I don't know whether you experienced that time. SIM card was quite expensive. I think I bought mine at maybe 21 or 30,000 naira.
Yeah, I mean some bought as 200,000 naira.
But now SIM card is free,
yes.
right? So you can see, we used to say in the ministry, 10 years ago, the amount of data that people consumed in Nigeria, when you compare it today, it's gone up by 70x, 70 times. Because there are now more services, right, that people can consume. But we understand that there's still a gap. We want to help Nigerians have access to meaningful connectivity, which means it's as good as you find anywhere in the world. Where, for instance, this building is connected to fiber, not dongle. Only 40% of Nigerians have access to that sort of connectivity, which is based around broadband, only 40%. And what the president is mandated that we should do as a government is to close that gap. So we have a series of important projects, like we're investing in 90,000 kilometers of fiber optic cable across the entire country. Every state will have its own ring, every geopolitical zone, every local government, up to the ward level, which means most homes will not be more than 1 or 2 kilometers away from what we call the point of presence, which is like a manhole, really, for fiber-based connectivity. And what you're going to see in Nigeria, the way I always describe it is, if you're thirsty and you need to drink water, and I say, open your mouth, and I start to sprinkle water into your mouth. That's exactly what you're getting now when it comes to internet. But when we finish building that project, which we expect will start to dig ground in Q2, Q3 next year, it will almost be akin or similar to saying you're thirsty. I say, open your mouth, and I take a hose and I put
So which means this will shine the 5G?
Oh, no, so it's going to make 5G more ubiquitous. 5G is already there, but it doesn't reach
of course, it doesn't reach everywhere.
So, but with fiber, it means that the telecommunications companies will not have to invest in significantly expensive equipment for them to
the mast and all of that.
They will still need it, but at least the cable will empower them, because all the towers will now be fiberized, which will make it more exciting. But it doesn't stop there. We also recognize that even if you have 5G, if most people don't have 5G enabled
smartphone
devices, they will still struggle. So we've started looking at the possibilities around how do we start to drive manufacturing of devices locally, because that's one of the ways in which you can drive down the cost. So it's been a major focus of this government. Like everything President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is doing, a lot of where we want to go as a nation requires a lot of work for you to get there. You can't just, like when I was appointed, I can't wake up to just switch a button and internet is as good
so
as
there's a process involved in all of this.
There's a serious, in fact, there's a lot of money involved as well. The fiber project that I've just described to you will cost us close to $2 billion. That's a lot of money. The process of being able to mobilize that resources alone, that's the work we've been doing. We're now successful with the likes of World Bank, where they've put money into the project, and we're at a point where we can close that fundraising process and start to deliver. But citizens want to see results immediately, so explaining the process is also equally important. But we're not stopping there. When you talk about digital divide, it's also about talent. Right? If you pay attention, Nigeria today is actually running the largest technology talent accelerator program in the world, which is called 3 million technical talent. There are so many, 3MTT all over the country benefiting from this. We received applications from every local government, obviously every state, all the 774 local governments. And there's a lot of those young people here in Abeokuta, so that are part of the program. So we're doing everything that we need to do. And we know that if we continue to get a support, the president is fully behind all of these things. If our citizens can also continue to appreciate and see where we're going, by the time we build all of these things together in the next 3 to 4 years, the digital ecosystem in Nigeria is not going to be the same. We can already see it. Not everyone understands numbers when it comes to GDP and things like that. But when you actually study the GDP numbers and you see the growth that has been happening in the last 2 to 3 years, you can tell that there's a shift that is happening in the ecosystem, which is why so far this year, we've seen the private companies in the sector bringing over $1.2 billion in investment, in foreign direct investment through the sector. If they don't think that government is being progressive and proactive, they won't bring their money. So there's something that is building, and I'm pretty sure Nigerians will soon start to see it.
Okay, because I also know with this, the fiber optic cables, the interventions you've talked about, which also help in the fight against insecurity.
It does. But that's a very special conversation that I won't touch on. Because the security agencies are working on it. But like we always say, infrastructure deficit or gap is a vulnerability, not an advantage. So if we plug it, we can put the nation at a place where we're strengthened to be able to do that.
Well, it's a whole lot, and I would say, best of luck in all of this. Nigerians can't wait to that time where we'll be talking about 5G connectivity and 7G connectivity. So let's go there. But anyway, let me take you back again from the private sector to the public sector. And I know it's different. The public sector is quite bureaucratic. It's procedural in a way. So tell me about that adaptability. From coming to the private sector when you could just get things done so easily and all of that, now to the public sector. So how are you able to adapt?
I think what I say to people when I'm asked that question is that, it's not like there are no processes in the private sector. If you go to some large organizations, you see how slow they can be, and sometimes even slower than government, sometimes. But I think my case is different because I wasn't just coming from the private sector as an employee. I was a founder, I was a builder. People who start businesses, they have a unique trait. I actually think we need more of them in government. They have a unique trait of knowing how to work within challenges and around challenges to deliver results. And I think for me, that became a trait that has been extremely useful. So as a minister, if I was meant to work within the constraints of government, I perhaps will not be able to deliver as much to the people. But because I'm coming as an entrepreneur, I'm coming as someone who believes in building, it gave me the opportunity to be able to apply those skill sets, whether it's in raising the capital that we're now using that we're hoping to use to deliver these 90,000 kilometers, or mobilizing resources from partners, from private companies, from development agencies to help deliver on our programs. I think that skill set is extremely important. If you look at 3MTT, for instance, when we started 3MTT, the bulk of the funding, over 6 billion naira, actually came from the private sector. Because, ministers were appointed in August when the budget for the year was already done. And I started this program, I announced it in October. The first cohort started in December. That was possible because I had my builder hat on and I was able to mobilize resources, over 6 billion towards 3MTT. So I think in a way, as against what people think, that if you're coming from private sector, if you come into public sector, you struggle. Perhaps that may be the case if you're not a builder. But if you're a builder, you're used to challenges. Things will never go as planned. And your role as a builder who is a leader is to find way around it. So I think it's worked really well for me.
Because people talk about administrative bottlenecks and all of that. Are you saying you've not experienced none of that?
Well, of course, everyone experiences it in government. But as a leader, what you experience is not an excuse for what you do. If I want to use what I experienced as an excuse, I won't have anything to tell you. But that's life generally, whether it's in government or even in the private sector. There are bottlenecks everywhere. But we don't need leaders who complain about bottlenecks.
Well, public service...
They have to help us fix it.
Yes. Public service comes with this intense pressure, particularly your ministry, communications, innovation, digital economy. So how do you manage the pressure? How do you manage the expectations of the people? Because I could remember when you were appointed, so much expectations, the fact that you're an entrepreneur, you're a techpreneur, so it's like a round peg in a round hole. I also understand that comes with so much expectations.
It's one of the challenges of accepting jobs. People think it's fun to work in the public sector, to become a public leader. It's actually quite demanding. because there's a lot of, especially in a country like Nigeria, where people are impatient. They want to see results. Impatient in a very positive manner. They want to see results. They want to see results. So because of that, you find that even when you communicate extensively, people may not take the time to see that there's something that is being developed. It's almost like internet. A lot of people complain about the quality of internet in the country. And to what I said to you earlier, what we consume is gone up by 70 times. But the amount of investment into the infrastructure that is used to deliver it is not matched that growth. So for me, for instance, to lead the ministry and the sector to deliver the quality that people expect, we have to go back and build an entire set of infrastructure. That's not something you do overnight. But the average person that you said may not understand that things are built in process. So I think for you as a leader, you have to be able to have that clarity. It's the same with Mr. President. When he came, he talked about a lot of the hard decisions that he took. These are decisions that Nigerians knew that we have to take at some point. But you know, when you take those decisions, initially they will lead to pain. But it doesn't mean that they're not going to lead to results. So you need to have that clarity as a leader to say, how do you minimize the pain as much as possible? And how do you ensure that you can build quickly to get to the result? It's almost like, say you're a farmer. If you sow something, the process that goes into clearing the land, you know, making your ridges, planting, watering your plants. Before, maybe if you're lucky, it's a plant that will mature in 6 months. You get what I mean?
Yeah.
It's an entire process where it takes you to that system, but you have to go through that hard labor and pain in the initial to get there. So as a leader, you need to manage that. How do you ensure that because you're building, you don't leave people too vulnerable, that you can understand that people are going through pain and you have to support them through that process? I think that's the most unique part of the process for me. It is challenging, but I think we're getting there.
You're like a technocrat because, of course, you're not like a politician before coming into this office. So I say, yes, we love it when the technocrats, you know, are in office, the innovations and all of that. But so how has it been so far?
It's been exciting. I'm not just I'm not just the technocrat who is coming with book knowledge. Yeah, I'm not just I'm the one that has built the first technology hub in this country, the largest on the African continent. There's something there. You know, I've supported a lot of young people to build billion-dollar businesses. That's significant. These companies employ a lot of people. Of course, I've had to step away from my companies, but there's still hundreds of people working for companies that I've created. Not one company, not two companies. So for me, I think it's been exciting, and it's encouraging as well that there's indeed future for our country, but there's also a lot of work to be done. So we need more builders in government, people who actually understand how to build. For instance, if you look at our state, for instance, this is a well-positioned state, Ogun State. You know, Ogun State surrounds the whole of Lagos.
Yes.
The opportunities in this state is endless, and we've been extremely fortunate.
Gateway to many states.
To many states.
Yes.
Yeah, we've been extremely fortunate to have leaders over the years that have built different foundations. When you think about it, whether it's Baba Shoba, you see what is built. Governor Amosu, you know, you see what Governor Benga Daniel, all those people, the kind of things the foundation up to the current governor, the things they've built, you can see that this is a state that is going somewhere. So imagine if we have more people with that kind of mindset, more people who have clarity on how to take advantage of what those past leaders have given the state and build them into something significant. In a few years' time, this will be a state that, why would people want to live in Lagos if we continue to build on the gains? We now have good airport, we have cotton processing unit that our state can become literally the food basket for this whole region. So all the food being consumed in Lagos should be coming in. By time, proper roads that is being improved is also improved around housing. But there's no reason for people. Lagos to Abeokuta is like 1 hour 30 minutes. So all the entire stretch from Bega to Shagami interchange, estates should be there where people in Lagos live. They don't have to live in Lagos. They're affordable places to live, which is also serene. Food is cheap. Their kids can go to good school. So we need builders in government. People who have to lead us must be builders. And this state is an example of what builders can do if they're in power.
And interestingly, along that axis, so I know we have the NCC,
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
we have the
yes.
NCC
Yeah,
office.
I commissioned that. Yeah, I commissioned that. It was started by the previous government, but it wasn't commissioned. So we came in, we completed the work that needed. So we commissioned it, and today we have programs running there. The first AI fellowship program that I know in this country is running from there with a lot of young people from Ogun State participating. We even have people from outside of Ogun State also participating. So I think we launched another one with the Alaki also, not too far from here, another hub that we're also now working with partners to see how we can animate. Ogun State is well positioned. I started, like I said, the first tech hub. Yaba is considered to be the Silicon Valley of Nigeria, but Yaba is small.
Yes,
I
it
think
is.
that future can actually be Ogun State if
Yeah,
and
because
you see what the governor has done.
we
with
did
the
that
tech
too.
hub there
Yes,
as well.
yes, we did that too. Definitely. You talked about artificial intelligence now because we're in that era.
Yes.
We cannot run away from artificial intelligence. And there are fears. People will be out of jobs because AI can do what some people do in certain jobs and all of that. So as a nation, or you can speak directly to young people, how can they leverage artificial intelligence?
I think it's not only leverage. You know what? I was at some event, I think it was in Jos, and I said, if you're not using AI at the minute, whether it's in school or in your job, you're actually being foolish. Because the reality is that artificial intelligence takes productivity to another level, right? AI, for instance, if you compare yourself to someone that uses AI, while you don't use AI, their productivity level will be almost times 100 than yours. And what you're going to see is that the differentiation between companies, but also countries that are competitive will come from their ability to use AI. I like to always describe what AI is to people. Many people don't really get where it's coming from. It's simply the guys who work in technology. They've been able to take everything we know that is documented, anything that we know that is documented, they've been able to take it and train machines. Which means if you ask machine a question about Abeokuta today, machine will look at everything that has been documented to answer that question, which means machine is going to be more smarter than you. Because there's a limit to what you have in your brain as an individual, no matter how much you know. But machine is now being trained to know everything. It's the same with agriculture. Everything we know about agriculture, about climate, about health. So what I see and say to young Nigerians is not to see it as something that's going to cost them their job, because in Nigeria, we're just building our way up. A lot of our critical sectors are not performing at optimal. So you're going to need technology to get them to perform at optimal. You're going to need the AI to perform at optimal. For instance, in agriculture, if you compare our yields in agriculture in Nigeria to maybe a place in South Africa or Brazil, we're really low. Maybe where we're doing 2.5% in the case of maize, Brazil is already doing 10 to 12% per hectare, tons of, we're doing 2 points. And it's because they use things like AI and technology, connected technology. So for countries like ours to continue to grow, we're going to have to introduce those technology. And this is where young people come in. We're going to need people who understand those technologies. And I'm saying you don't have to be a software developer or an engineer to actually participate. Even in the media space, for instance, you can decide on how do we ensure we can leverage AI to improve on the way we deliver services to people without you worrying about whether it's going to take your job. Of course, this interview could have been done with AI bots and things like that. But you bringing the human touch into it, you can leverage it to make your work a lot more effective, a lot more meaningful. You can use it to better understand what people want to hear and listen to, the kind of conversations people want on your show. And what I would do is make you a lot more attractive as a person. So instead of you thinking of losing your job, you actually will be better. And a lot of young people will be better. I have a farm, for instance, in Imasha. And what you see on my farm is a lot of young people, because we use drones to spray herbicide, right? We have tractors there, there's connectivity in there, all sort of technologies. And young people, because they like those kind of things, they are now on the farm, where typically it's not a place where young people want to be. Right? We have youth couples there who like being there. They stay with us. After finishing, they even want to stay. So my advice to young people would be that to see it as an opportunity for bigger and better value creation than worrying about whether it's going to cost them their job. Because in our country, AI can help us improve on how we do things in many, many sectors.
Mm. So yeah, you're doing well. How do you stay connected to your roots? Because I know this is your root. Because I know you can easily get carried away with so much work.
Yeah, yeah.
So how do you stay connected?
No, for me, I think the interest in this work, which of course is hard, is not about the position itself. It's about what I believe I can bring to the society, what I believe I can bring to the people. So if you don't stay connected to the people you work for and you serve, you will struggle. So programs like 3MTT for me is an opportunity to stay grounded, just hearing, reading about the progress that the young people are making, which is why I always like to interact with them every time I come. What my foundation is doing, has been doing since Friday here, is another opportunity to say it's end of the year, let's give a chance for people to come together. It's not just sports only. Of course, sports we know is an interesting avenue for people to connect. But for me, I think it's more the celebration, the opportunity for people to unwind, to enjoy the game, to compete, to laugh, all those kind of things. So you pick a lot from there. Also from the sector I serve, the process of engaging people to truly understand their pain. So when I was appointed, I listened to everyone, both those in government and outside of government, to understand what they're feeling, the challenges. So they had a long list of things they wanted done, and we can take those lists. So even when people say, are you guys performing? We know we are, because these were the things you said to us at the beginning, and these are some of the things that we've taken and we've delivered to you, and we can see the results. And that, I believe, is how we get to the Nigeria that we all dream of. If we start to take, we will not get there overnight, but we need to be clear about the journey that we have to take to get to where, and start to make sure that we accomplish things along that journey. That for me is how I stay grounded.
And I know, of course, you've let the cat out of the bag. The basketball events for youths, in Ijeja, like a sports center. What informed that decision, that initiative? Why sports, I would say?
Sport? No, when I was young, when I was in my primary school, like I said at the beginning, I used to actually go to that stadium trying to play badminton. But unfortunately, I think that there was a process you had to go through. You needed money for kits and things like that I didn't have. So it was always of interest to me to find ways to engage kids like myself who may want to participate in things like that. But beyond sport, honestly, for me, it's just, this is the end of the year. Can we create a platform for people to have fun? They're talking Dirty December, which is more skilled towards Lagos. Places like Abeokuta, the whole of Ogun State is close to Lagos. We should also have more activities here. And the governor has been doing a lot. The sport festival, for instance, significant investment was put into sport infrastructure. So I thought, why not? So we partnered with the community. They actually spoke to the governor about it, and he gave his blessing. So we've been working with the commissioner of sport to make it happen. But it's just an avenue to bring people together to have fun at the end of the year.
So would that be yearly events?
I'd love to. I'd love to. We got sponsors for it. I didn't pay for it. I'm a possible servant. We got sponsors for it, but the goal will be to make it yearly or even multiple. I hope I can also introduce stuff around table tennis, maybe the next Salah holiday or something like that, just to give people the chance to come and watch.
Okay, now back to your office now. What we say has been the most memorable moments so far in office. That moment, that watershed moment, if I put it that way, that moment you cannot forget so far in office.
I think for me it's been more than one moment. If I'm allowed to share, but some of the really exciting ones, I think, has been time with Mr. President himself, and just getting really up close to him and seeing how passionate he is about nation building. As is a complicated country that has a lot that must be fixed, but it's been an extreme privilege to work under a leader with clarity. You're the president of Nigeria, and people don't know how much pressure comes to you when you're in that kind of position. But President Tinubu has a lot of clarity. I think because he's been in politics and around politics for a long time, it's giving attention to what are the things we need to do to actually move Nigeria forward. And getting close to him and seeing how passionate he is about ensuring that development can trickle down. Many people don't understand that. So when you look at fuel subsidy, saving that money and trying to use it for development is extremely important. Things like a student loan, for instance. For the first time in Nigeria, we actually have a working student loan system where if you're an average person, you want to go to university, you don't have the resources, you can actually apply for. The 3MTT, the way it supported us, the way it supported the deployment of the 90,000 kilometers of fiber optic network. It's put literally everything behind anything that is focused on building that foundation. For me, I think that's been the most eye-opening. But beyond that, it's also just coming in and seeing, for instance, the support we've received on the 90,000 kilometers project all over the world, not just in Nigeria. I also got listed for my work in artificial intelligence on Time Magazine 100 most influential people in AI globally. I think that was also a significant moment for me in government. I've been elected as the deputy chair for the Council for International Telecommunications Union, and I'm going to be the chair in the new year. That's also quite a significant moment, just seeing that the world truly believes in the things that we're doing in Nigeria. And we just have to keep at it and ensure that we can deliver results for every single person in the country.
So are you collaborating with other ministries? So you just highlighted your work in artificial intelligence, and I'm thinking, well, there's a lot here I can do in education.
Absolutely.
There's a lot here I can do. You establish that in agriculture.
Absolutely.
In fact, every ministry needs AI. Every ministry needs innovations, needs that digital economy somewhat. So how are you, collaborating, synergizing with them?
So I'll give an example of education, for instance. Recently, we just launched the national strategy for education technology, because we've seen that technology as a whole can help to improve learning outcomes across the country. But as a nation, if you don't have clarity around how you're going to deploy technology for results, you will find that technology is being used haphazardly but not together. So with the Minister of Education, we actually decided to develop a national strategy. And that strategy is not just focused on just government, but also the private sector. So how do we bring the innovation community in to help support how we think through the use of technology in government? So we just released that, I think, a couple of weeks ago, and now we're going into full implementation where that strategy is going to inform how we invest in technology in government. So that's one thing we've done. The second thing which we're extremely excited about in terms of collaboration is we also set up a community of all the technologies in federal government, right? And what we've done is we put them into a group, and in that group, we've created a community of practice through which these people are being trained and given resources. Because if they're not trained, if they don't have the know-how and the resources to help government use technology very well, that we can come up with strategy, but the people that implement it will still struggle. So we've seen that that's also been extremely successful. And lastly, is the digital economy bill, which we've now crafted and is waiting for the final approval at the National Assembly. Is also focused on now reimagining totally the way we use technology in Nigeria, because so far we don't have a single piece of legislation that is focused on how technology is used. What we have is different laws and regulations in different places, but we've now been able to develop a single strategy that has strong focus on technology in government, which is e-governance, has a strong focus on digital skills, has a strong focus on trust services and things like e-signatures, so that e-signatures can also be acceptable. But I think most importantly, has something in it that we call the data exchange system, which is focused on ensuring that every part of the Nigerian government can seamlessly exchange data amongst themselves, thereby allowing technology to thrive.
Yeah, because I had the Minister of Aviation complaining that taking files from Lagos to Abuja, Abuja to Lagos has been so costly. So I'm so excited with the e-governance, e-signatures that I did talk about, particularly, even a public, civil service doing electronic, operation, because we've used to this paper, manual ways of doing things.
It takes time. It takes time, but there's a lot of effort and also concerted effort as well to drive that. The head of service is also driving what we call the ECM, which is Electronic Content Management System. across all agencies. And that's where we start to see the progress away from paperwork. But we think that also the singular most effective way is to drive the data exchange system. Once you have that in the middle, it will allow everyone to seamlessly be able to exchange data, then fast tracking our aim of delivering a country which is digitally inclined.
Wow. Well, Minister Dr. Bosun Tijani, I must thank you so specially. But before you go, maybe just your closing remarks. This is you. I mean, you child season or moment like this. I want you to speak to Nigerians, particularly young people. Tell them the opportunities, in tech, because we have the good, we have the bad, we have the ugly.
No, I think if there's any young person out there that doesn't have the clarity, I think it's important for them to understand and appreciate that we live at a time where the way in which the world and humanity does things is already changing. There's literally nothing we can do today without technology. There's still societies that are very stubborn and holding on to old ways of doing things. But you and I know that the future of stations like OGTV, for instance, is digital.
Yes.
If OGTV is going to continue to stay relevant, there should be a strong digital element to everything you do here, whether it's in how you prepare your content and stories or how you deliver it as well. That digital element is important. And who are the people that will support that? They're the young people, right? The young people, they have the opportunity to go acquire skill set that will make them relevant, and when they come to places like this, they can add value easily and find their own space. And that's the same in health, it's the same in education, it's the same even in transportation, it's the same in agriculture. Nigeria is a country that is growing tremendously. We're having 5 million new people every year. We're projected by 2050 to be close to 500 million people. How are we going to feed all those people? We have to improve the state of our education, of our agriculture. And the way to improve it is you cannot be optimal in terms of productivity without technology. This is where we need a lot of young people. There's so many of those young people in Ogun State in agriculture.
Yes.
The state has been training a lot of them. I think there's one particular one that has a huge greenhouse that the state has been supporting, that is training so many other people. Young people in the state should keep an eye on those opportunities and leverage it. Look out for the AI fellowship program that we're running with the Ministry of Education here in the state. Participate in it. The future is bright. Young people we don't have the same, we're not facing the same challenges that our parents faced. You can have the right skill set, be here in Abeokuta, and you're working for an American company remotely.
Yes.
And you're earning in dollars. So you don't have to do fraudulent things to also be successful to earn dollars. That opportunity is endless. The only thing between you and them is your drive and willingness to actually apply yourself to acquire those skill sets. And it's no longer the time where you have to go to some of the best universities in the world. You don't have to go to MIT or Harvard or go to my own University of Jos or Warwick. Most of those content exist online.
Yes.
Whether it's on YouTube, on platforms like Coursera, both paid, those that you pay for, but also those that you won't pay anything for. You can now learn things like editing content online for free. Right? Tutorials are there. Of course, you may be saying, how do I have access to internet and computers? There are tech hubs that you can join and be a member, and some of those places, the NCC one that you talked about, there's over 200 computers there. There's internet there. So pending where you actually get the resources to buy your home, that's a place to leverage. When I lived in Abeokuta, there was nothing like that. I remember I was desperate. I was truly interested in computing when I was here, and there was nowhere to go learn. So the world is different today, and I think young people should.
So anybody can just go to the NCC office.
Of course, you can register. You have to register. You have to register. Of course, there's a program that you need to be part of, but even if you're not part of that program, tell them you're waiting for the next batch. But pending when you're waiting, you want the opportunity to learn.
Okay.
People will give you that opportunity. Also, bear in mind, the state also has a tech hub opposite that one, which is quite big as well. And that tech hub, there's tons of programs running in there. There's also computers there. There's internet there. it may be slightly far from town, but you can make your way there. If I had access to that when I was here, I'll probably be flying.
Thank you so
My
much,
pleasure, my
Minister of
pleasure.
Communications, Innovation and Digital Economy, Dr. Bosun.
Thank you so much,
Tijani,
Moses.
thanks
Good
to
to meet you.
have you on this seat.
Yeah.
Where you've heard from him, he has been able to tell us the programs and the various programs that the ministry is doing. And I tell you, well, it's a lot. So thank you so much for watching. Till next week when we bring to your viewing pleasure another eminent personality. Bye for now.